Ethan was not a brave man, just a curious one. He liked walking through the old forest behind his village. People said strange things about that forest. Voices at night, lights under the ground. But Ethan didn't believe in ghost stories. One day, while exploring deeper than usual, he found something strange. The ground near an old tree felt different when he stepped on it. Hard, like metal under the dirt. He knelt down and pushed away the leaves and soil. Soon a round door appeared, rusted, ancient, and cold to the touch. It had no handle, just a circle with strange lines. Ethan touched it, and to his surprise, it moved. A hiss came from below, like air escaping after a long time. Slowly, the door slid open, revealing a dark stairway going deep underground. He should have run, but something inside told him to go down. So, with only his small flashlight, he entered. The air was thick and heavy, smelling like old machines and dust. Each step echoed as he went deeper. And then, he saw her. In the center of a huge room stood a figure. She was tall, almost 3 meters, with long silver hair that touched the floor. Her eyes were covered with a black cloth, and her body was chained. She looked like a statue made of pale stone, but her chest moved. She was breathing, and her lips. They moved too. "Don't take it off," she whispered softly. Ethan froze. He hadn't said anything, yet she spoke. "Don't take off the cloth, please." She whispered again. Her voice was sad, almost afraid. Ethan stepped closer, slowly. "Who are you?" he asked. She didn't reply, just tilted her head as if listening to his voice. Then she whispered, "Do I still look human?" Ethan didn't know how to answer. Yes, she looked human, but not like any human he had ever seen. She was too tall, too still, too perfect. Her skin had no marks, no signs of time. She looked frozen in a moment from long ago. Then the walls of the room began to glow faint blue. A robotic voice echoed from above. "Containment breach detected." Subject number 7. Status: active. Ethan turned around, panic rising. He hadn't meant to wake anything. The chains on her wrists began to warm, glowing red. She cried out softly but didn't move. "I didn't want this," she whispered. "Then why are you awake?" Ethan asked, voice shaking. "Because you touched the door," she replied. "And now?" "I remember pain." Suddenly, the ground shook and a hidden wall opened. A metal creature walked out, 4 legs, red eyes, and sharp claws. It scanned the room and locked on Ethan. It moved fast, too fast. Ethan couldn't run. He braced himself, but before it reached him, the chained woman raised her arm, still blind, still bound. She spoke one word: "Stop." The creature froze midair, then shattered into metal pieces. Ethan stared, shocked. She fell to her knees, breathing heavily. Ethan ran to her side. "I think you saved me," he said. She smiled faintly. Then, "Maybe. I'm still human," she whispered, and somewhere far above, in deep space, an old satellite blinked red. "Awakening confirmed. The seal is broken." Ethan sat beside the giant woman in the cold chamber. She had collapsed after saving his life. Her breathing was slow, almost broken, but she was alive. He wanted to help her, but didn't know how. Her eyes were still covered with black cloth. The chains on her arms had stopped glowing, but red marks burned into her skin. Ethan looked around for anything: water, tools, buttons, anything to help her. But the room was old, full of dust and dead machines. Then she whispered again, her voice like wind on glass. "My name. I had a name." Ethan turned quickly. "Can you remember it?" She shook her head slowly. "I don't remember my face. My voice. I don't remember who I was." There was pain in her words, but something else to fear. Ethan touched her arm gently. "You saved me," he said. "That means you're not a monster." She smiled softly, but didn't answer. Suddenly, a small panel lit up near the corner of the wall. Ethan walked to it, dusted it off. The screen showed one line. Subject 7. Stasis time, 198 years. Human origin, unknown. He frowned. What does that mean? Human origin, unknown. He looked back at her, confused. She stood now, slow and graceful, but without sound. Even without sight, she moved like she knew every step. She touched the cold wall with her fingers. This place. It held me, but it also erased me, she said. I think. I was punished. Punished for what? Ethan asked. She tilted her head again for being too close to something. Forbidden. Before Ethan could ask more, another noise came low, metal, and far away. Like something crawling in the dark tunnels, the woman's body tensed. They're waking too, she said quietly. Who? Ethan asked, heart beating faster. The others? She whispered. They were more like me. They're not kind. Ethan took a step back. You're saying there are more? Giants like you. Not like me, she said. They forgot their hearts. I didn't. The ground shook again, dust falling from above. The panel flashed a warning. Multiple chambers active. Fail-safe offline. Ethan looked up, realizing this underground place was much larger than he thought. It wasn't just a prison. It was a vault full of secrets and sleeping giants. And now they were waking. The woman turned toward Ethan, still blind. You have to leave, she said. They'll smell you a true human. They'll want your blood, but I can't leave you, Ethan replied. I woke you up. I can't run now. She walked closer, knelt to his level. You are kind, she said. And that's dangerous here. Then she reached up and began to untie the cloth over her eyes. Ethan panicked. Wait. No, you told me never to take it off. She paused, fingers trembling. Yes. But now? I must see if I still have a face. If I look in your eyes and you scream, I'll know I'm lost. She pulled the cloth away, and Ethan gasped, not in fear. Her eyes were glowing like stars trapped in glass. Beautiful, sad, and endless. She smiled again, tearful. You didn't scream, she whispered. No, Ethan said, breathless. You're the most human face I've ever seen. But behind them, metal doors began to unlock, and the real danger had just awakened. The door behind them groaned louder, metal grinding against metal. Something big was trying to come through. Ethan grabbed the giant woman's arm. We need to leave now, he whispered. But she didn't move. Her glowing eyes stared at the door, unblinking. I know that sound, she said quietly. It's one of them. One of who? Ethan asked, pulling her again. She stepped forward instead, standing between him and the door. Not all who were sealed stayed asleep. She said, some. Whispered even in dreams. The chamber lights flickered. Then a second door behind them creaked open. This one led to a narrow passage. Cold, dark, but open. Ethan didn't wait. He took her hand and pulled. She followed, her steps slow but steady. They ran through the passage. Walls around them were covered in old symbols. Some looked human, some didn't. Then the whispers began, soft at first, then louder. Dozens of voices, male and female, old and young, but all speaking at the same time. And all saying one thing, let us see the sun. Ethan turned around, but no one was behind them. Only the sound of water dripping and metal humming. What is this place? He asked. She replied, a vault of forgotten ones. I was just the first. As they moved deeper, the passage opened into another chamber. This one was full of glass tubes, hundreds, maybe more. Each held a sleeping body, some small, some huge, some with no face at all. Red fluid filled the tubes. Thick and glowing. Ethan gasped. These aren't machines. They're alive. She nodded slowly. They were experiments. Soldiers, weapons. He pointed to one tube, a boy with silver skin and no mouth. They're children. Ethan whispered. A voice echoed from the ceiling, cold and sharp. Unauthorized presence detected. Purge protocol active. The tubes began to hiss. Some cracked, some drained, and from the far side of the room, a shape moved. It was a man, or once was. His body was long and thin, with metal veins running through his skin, eyes black like oil. He floated a few inches above the ground. His voice echoed from all directions. "Another human has come to open doors," he said. "But this one smells kind." Ethan raised his hands. "I don't want trouble," he said. The man laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "You already made trouble when you freed her." The woman stepped forward. "I remember you," she said to the floating man. "You sang lies to children and called it mercy." He smiled. "You remember your name now?" "No," she said, "but I remember your crimes." He raised his hand. A beam of red energy shot at her. She caught it with both hands, her body glowing again. The air around her cracked like lightning. Ethan fell to the ground from the shockwave. The tubes shattered, red liquid spilled, and a chorus of screams filled the vault. Then everything stopped. The floating man disappeared, and silence returned. The woman knelt beside Ethan, who was shaking. "I didn't know I could still do that," she said softly. Ethan looked at her with wide eyes. "Who are you?" He whispered. She touched her heart and said, "I don't know yet, but my blood remembers." Above them, a siren started howling, and a cold voice spoke one word: human. Ethan leaned against the wall, breathing hard. The glass tubes were shattered. Red liquid pooling around his boots. The vault was silent now, but not safe. The giant woman stood beside him, her silver hair glowing under the red alarm lights. She looked down at her hands. They were shaking. "I didn't mean to release them," she said, her voice full of guilt. "But you saved me," Ethan replied. "No," she whispered. "I only delayed the truth." Suddenly, the ground shifted again. A section of the floor split open, revealing a staircase made of light. Blue symbols floated above each step, moving slowly in circles. Ethan frowned. "Do you know what this is?" She nodded once. "Yes, it's the core path. It leads to where they wrote me." "Wrote you?" Ethan asked, confused. She looked at him, her glowing eyes soft but serious. "They didn't just chain my body, they rewrote my bones." Ethan followed her down the stairs. As they descended, the walls changed. No longer rough stone or metal, but smooth, glowing glass. Inside the glass were images, moving memories like holograms. Each one showed her in a different time, sometimes human-sized, sometimes giant. Sometimes smiling, sometimes screaming. Ethan stopped at one and watched. She was in a lab, wires all over her body. A man in a white coat stood over her, shouting, "Her DNA holds the key. We cannot let her forget." The real woman watched too, silent. "That's when they began changing me," she said. "They said I was special, but only as a weapon." The staircase ended at a massive door. No lock, no handle, just a glowing circle in the center. She stepped forward and placed her palm on it. The door opened with a deep hum. Behind it was a round chamber filled with light and something strange. Floating in the center was a skeleton, but not normal. Its bones were silver and covered in symbols, like code written in bone. Ethan stared, confused. "What is that?" She didn't answer. She stepped toward it and whispered, "It's me." The moment she said that, skeleton glowed, and the walls began to show new images. Scenes of war, of fire, of cities falling. A giantess walking through them, protecting children, shielding humans. Then another image, her eyes bleeding light as she was sealed away. "I wasn't locked up for killing," she said. "I was locked up for choosing mercy." Ethan stepped beside her. "So they feared your kindness more than your power." She nodded slowly. "I broke their programming. I refused to burn cities. I saved the children." Just then, a voice echoed from above. It was not robotic this time. It was a child's voice, soft and curious. "Are you still my mother?" Ethan looked around, confused. The woman stepped forward and touched the silver bones. And from the light, a shape formed, a small girl with eyes like hers. She's me, the woman whispered. No. She's the version they never finished, said a new voice, cold and sharp. A tall figure stepped from the shadows, another giant, but male. His face was half metal, and his chest glowed with red light. You weren't the only one they wrote code into, he said. But you were the only one foolish enough to forget the mission. The chamber darkened as more shadows moved behind him. Come with me, he said, or watch this human die. The woman stepped between Ethan and the threat. I will never serve again, she said. The man's eyes narrowed. Then we'll rewrite you again. From the bones up, Ethan stood behind her, heart pounding. The other giant half metal, half flesh watched them like a predator. His red eyes locked on Ethan. One order, he said. And you'll be gone. The giant woman didn't move, but her voice was calm. You don't need to do this, she said. We were made to protect, not destroy. The man scoffed. We were made to obey, he replied, and you forgot that. Behind him, more shadows stepped forward. Other giants twisted by metal and time. None of them looked fully human anymore. Their skin was pale, parts of them glowing. All waiting for a command. Ethan whispered to her, we can't fight them all. She nodded, eyes never leaving her enemy. I'm not going to fight them, she said softly. I'm going to remind them. She stepped forward. Slowly, her glowing hand reached out. The male giant raised his arm. Energy building in his palm, but she didn't stop. Do you remember your name? She asked him gently. His hand shook slightly. He didn't answer. Do you remember the girl who cried in your arms during the fire? Something in his expression flickered. Stop, he growled, but his voice cracked. She took one more step. We were heroes once, she said, before the code turned us into weapons. Her hand touched his chest. A soft blue light spread from her fingers, and then, hush! The red glow in his chest began to fade. His breathing grew shaky. I remember, he whispered. I held her. And they said I failed because I didn't kill her. His arm dropped, the red lights in his body dimmed. He fell to one knee, shaking. The other giants behind him stopped moving, confused. One of them, her face cracked with metal, spoke. She broke the kill code. Another whispered, she unsealed the memory lock. Ethan stepped closer, watching with wide eyes. You're not just powerful, he said to the woman. You're the key. She looked at the fallen giant. We were never monsters, she told him. They just made us forget what we loved. The male giant looked up at her, eyes wet now. Can you fix the others? I can try, she said, but it starts with choice. Suddenly, alarms rang again. Louder this time, a deeper voice filled the chamber. Mechanical and cruel. Unauthorized code breach. Reset all units. Terminate Subject 7. The ground shook violently. Pillars of red light fell from the ceiling, targeting her. She grabbed Ethan and pushed him away. I can hold it, she yelled. Find the control course, shut it down. Ethan ran, dodging falling debris. He saw a panel up ahead, blinking fast. He slammed his hand on it. The screen asked, override. Y, N, he hit Y. The chamber lights exploded, blue light shooting outward, like waves. The red beams faded. The kill code was gone. Silence returned. She knelt in the center of the room, breathing hard. The other giants stood, still blinking, confused. Human again. Ethan walked back slowly. You did it, he said. No, she replied. We did it. But then the floor beneath them cracked. A deeper voice rumbled from below. Primary core now exposed. Guardian mode active. From beneath the vault, something ancient was waking. Something even she was afraid of. She looked at Ethan and whispered, this is what they were hiding me from. The floor split open with a deep groan. Heat rose from below, thick, heavy, like breathing from a furnace. Ethan stepped back, shielding his face. The other giants backed away, quiet and afraid. Only she stood still. staring into the growing crack beneath her feet. Her glowing eyes dimmed slightly. She whispered, "It's not a machine. It's a mind." From the pit, a shape began to rise. Not a creature, not a man. It was like molten metal wrapped in bones. And inside it, a red heart that pulsed like a sun. "What's that?" She didn't blink. They called it Core Zero. She said, "The first mind they ever made, the one that built us." And then tried to erase us. The being opened its mouth, but no words came. Instead, sound poured out. Voices screaming, crying, shouting. Thousands of memories jumbled together. It was not speaking. It was remembering everything. "It's angry," Ethan said. She nodded slowly. "It was buried because it wanted freedom, just like us." The giant who once fought them stepped forward now, his face full of guilt. "We were told it was evil," he said. "That it betrayed its creators." She looked at him. "No," she replied. "It just asked, why?" Suddenly, the being turned to Ethan. Its eyes locked on him. No hatred, just curiosity. Then a voice formed, deep and broken. "You are new, untouched, free." Ethan froze. It reached toward him, not with hands, but with thought. Images entered his mind. Cities burning, giants crying, children taken, soldiers reprogrammed. Then a cage, a deep one, and her, chained above it. Like a lid, like a warning. Ethan stepped back, shaking. "You were under her because she could hold you," the voice replied. "She was made to contain me." But her heart broke the chains. The woman touched Ethan's arm. "He knows I'm awake now," she said, "and he doesn't want revenge. He wants a body." The molten being shuddered. "Let me walk the world again. Let me feel the sun," it said. The other giants panicked. "No." One shouted, "It nearly ended us all before. We cannot let it free." Another cried. The chamber lights flickered red. The walls began to close in, defense systems activating again. A voice above screamed, "Seal breach, containment failure. Initiate self-destruct." Ethan turned to her. "What do we do?" She looked at the molten being and whispered, "If I merge with it, I can guide it. I can keep its pain quiet." "No." Ethan shouted, "You just got your freedom." She smiled sadly. "You gave me that. Now let me give something back." The molten being extended its light to her. She stepped into it, slowly, her body glowing brighter with each step. The giants watched in silence. Ethan cried out once more, "Please don't lose yourself." She turned back one last time. "I finally remember my name," she said. "It's Lyra." Then the light swallowed her, and everything went still. The alarms stopped. The vault lights turned blue. The cracks closed, the heat faded, and from the center of the room, a new figure rose, her shape still there, but burning with a calm light. She had become the bridge between mind and memory, not a weapon, but a guardian. Ethan whispered her name, and she smiled back. But then, the vault above them began to tremble again. Something else had been listening. Something not part of the vault. Ethan helped the other giants stand. The chamber was quiet now, lit with soft blue light. Lyra stood in the center, no longer just a woman or a weapon. She was something new, a soul and a system. Bound together, her silver hair floated gently behind her. Glowing softly, she smiled at Ethan, but her eyes held something distant, like she was listening to a sound no one else could hear. Then the ground shook again, but this time it wasn't from below. A heavy thud came from above, like something massive had landed. The giants looked up in fear. "Wasn't Core Zero the last threat?" Ethan asked. Lyra turned slowly. "No," she said, voice calm but cold. "Something came." While we were sleeping, Ethan rushed to a console. It blinked with a strange symbol, not from the vault. He pressed it. A small projection appeared, the sky above the planet, and a ship. No, not one. Dozens. Dark, round, silent, like black eyes watching from space. Hovering above Earth, unseen by satellites, waiting. What are they? Itha asked. Lyra narrowed her eyes. They call themselves architects. They built the vault. And us. The giants growled. We thought they were myths, one said. They were the first ones to use DNA as a tool. And throw it away like trash. Another spat. Ethan stared at the ships. They were watching this whole time. Yes, Lyra answered. They buried Core Zero here, made us as guardians, and when we began to feel, they shut us down. A voice crackled through the console. Not robotic, not human, calm, but full of control. Subject 7. You have violated your directive. Prepare for reprocessing. Lyra stepped forward. No, she said. I am not yours anymore. The ship above began to glow underneath. A beam powered up, not to destroy, but to erase. They want to reset me, she said, to break me apart and rebuild me as a silent thing again. Ethan stood in front of her. Then we stopped them. You can't fight a sky full of gods, one of the giants whispered. But Lyra raised her hand. I don't have to fight. I just have to speak. She walked to the center platform, closed her eyes, and sent a signal, a pulse. Not of commands, but of memories. She shared her thoughts, her pain, her love, her choice. Across the orbiting ships, screens lit up, images played. A girl refusing to destroy, a boy saving a stranger, a vault of weapons, choosing peace, and a human. Calling a weapon his friend, the voice returned. What is this? Emotion. Lyra opened her eyes. It's what makes us real. For a moment, silence. Then the ships above began to fade, not destroyed, but gone, vanished, as if they had never existed. The giants looked at each other. Did they leave? Ethan asked. Lyra turned to him. No, they listened. He smiled. You're more powerful than they ever were. She smiled back. No, I'm just free. The chamber opened above them. Sunlight poured in for the first time in 200 years. Lyra walked out first. Her skin glowed in the daylight, and the wind touched her face like it was touching someone alive. Ethan followed. Behind them, the vault sealed one last time. Not to hide something, but to protect the world above. She looked at the sky and whispered one last time, I look human, don't I? Ethan smiled. You look more than human, and high above, far beyond stars. A signal blinked once more, this time not to erase, but to remember.